What I see is that our communities have had a wake-up call.
There you go. Grammy Award singer, my good brother, Q Parker, president of sales of BET, Louis Carr.
We never know when the opportunity is going to present itself. We're going to prepare as if we know it's happening tomorrow.
Master the things you hate to do, and it'll give you more opportunity to do the things you love to do. At 20 years old, it hit me.
It costs nothing to be kind. The way that you treat people when you hot is the way they treat you when you not.
Can I tell you this one story?
The Waymakers then, and what they did to influence us, and the responsibility that we have as men to create the path for the generation to come.
Our communities don't need good people now. They need great people. We just operated on being the best. You ain't got to put no term on it. My brother had 112. They wasn't trying to be the best black group. They were just trying to be the best group.
For those who may not be aware of what a Waymaker is, help us understand. How do we protect and advance black media during this political climate?
You know, because I've been doing this so long.
You just getting started, brother. You just getting started.
For black media, it's just a real opportunity because we're going to have to tell our own stories.
Because, and I go by this saying, the story must be told. It's time for something that's just for us. It's time to unlock something new. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you're tuned in to The Bless Code. Welcome to this episode of The Bless Code, as we look to unlock the code to being a waymaker, reconstructing your identity of success and loss. Joining me is my good brother, Q Parker, Grammy Award singer, songwriter, and actor. Joining me also is my brother, Louis Carr, president of sales of BET. Welcome, fellas.
Man, thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
Reconstructing identity beyond success and loss. I gotta tell you, success that we earn, but the losses that follow. Making a way. My brother, take us back to when you first started at BET. What did that landscape look like for black executives then?
Thank you for having me, first of all. It is a pleasure to be here with you and Q today. When I think about when I first started at BET, I hate to say the landscape doesn't look much different today. It doesn't. There was no person of color in a position that I am today. And today I am the only person of color that is a president of advertising sales in this industry. So it hasn't changed much in 40 years. When I think about success, and people ask me this all the time, Melvin, they say, what is it? It's not what you accumulate. It's what you influence and you impact.
There you go.
All right. So we can all have a lot of stuff. And most successful people have a lot of stuff. But are they impacting others and influencing the paths of others? That's the real key to saying you're successful.
Interesting. Facts. So that's real interesting, and it's as you alluded to, nothing has materially changed. And talk to me about how have you navigated spaces where you were the only one?
People always say, I want to be my authentic self. I say I want to be my authentic best self. Because sometimes our authentic self ain't what the situation or the environment needs. It needs our authentic best self. And a lot of times what does that mean? You're not so emotional about it. You are very intentional about what you do. I joke with people all the time. I say, you don't want to see my authentic self. It's not good. It's just not good. You want to see my authentic best self to show up. because then that's intentional, that's strategic, that's planned, and that's influence and impact when I show up with my authentic best self.
Showing up. Now, I was told, Brother Q, that you better not sign up for this if you're not going to show up for this.
Man.
So talk to me about, for you, in your space of artistry and in the industry and just showing up, being your authentic self. What was that like for you?
Wow. So I want to just start out by saying thank you for the invitation, man. I love what you're doing and always have been a huge supporter of you. But just showing up, I go back to 1994, senior in high school, got with my brothers, the other members of 112, and we just decided the landscape was just so thick because during that time, it was just so many male R&B groups. And we had to just kind of find a way to occupy a space that wasn't really anyone else's lane but our own. And it was that just constantly drove us. And the way that we rehearsed, the way that we practiced was always a space of, we never know when the opportunity is going to present itself. And so we're going to prepare as if we know it's happening tomorrow. And that kind of instituted in a mindset in us to just always be on. Never have to be told like, this is the big one, because every opportunity is the big one. You just never know. And so, I mean, there would be times where we'd be at somebody's barbecue and someone would say, can y'all sing something for us? Not knowing who this person may be or who they may be connected to. And I think at a young age, as a teenager, being able to embrace that idea of showing up all the time, being on and being and being able to present your authentic best self on demand.
Now, fellas, think about that. What he just articulated was the blessing of staying ready. And we hear the saying, the coach says, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. We hear that all the time, but we don't stay ready. We don't stay ready for the opportunity. We don't stay ready for the things that God has put us in position for. Why is that? Why won't you work to stay ready? Why won't you embrace the things that God has equipped and qualified you for? Why won't you? Think about that mindset. Louis, let me ask you this. What role did mentorship play in your journey to becoming BET's president of media and sales?
I say all the time that I've just been blessed. So I've had 19 Waymakers, 19. And I remember the day, the time, what they did, the direction, the advice. And because what I say is that action changed me at that moment and put me on the right path. I'll give you an example. When I was in high school, and I was a good athlete, and my coach asked me this question one day: do you want to be just a good athlete, or do you want to be a great athlete?
Wow.
And I said, what do the great athletes do that the good ones don't do? He said, with that question, you've told me you want to be a great athlete. And I had never thought about good or great. Now, good to great is just part of my vocabulary. All right. I spoke to some people the other day. Our communities don't need good people now. They need great people.
Yeah.
And there's a difference in how great people show up versus how good people show up. Great people show up with confidence, courage, intentionality, change. They understand that they can make a difference no matter how bad the situation is. So when you look at our communities and you look at our people today, we need great people.
Great people, which leads me to this.
Yeah.
the creation of the brethren, the creation of mankind. We were created to be extraordinary. We were created to be great, not mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
We were created to do all things. Brother Louis, for those who may not be aware of what a waymaker is, help us understand. What is that?
A waymaker is someone who sees something in you before you see it in yourself.
Man, listen, come on, man.
And they decide to do something about it.
Man,
It's the action that they take
wow.
that makes a way for you.
Mm.
You didn't know you could do that, but they believed you could do it. I always use this example. When you watch the Olympics and athletes swimming, track and field, gymnastics, when they finish, the first person they look for is not their parents. It's their coach. They believed in them when nobody else believed.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were there through all the practices, through all the successes, through all the losses, because they believed. Someone told me the other day, he said, Louis, I'm trying to help you, and I don't want nothing in return except for you to be great. Brought a chill to me.
Wow, that is extraordinary. And all it takes is for one to believe in me.
My. Yes,
Therefore I believe, and so shall I be. Brother Q, like what was that like for you?
When I think of Waymakers, I have to go back to elementary school. Her name is Mrs. Cynthia Terry. She was my elementary school choral teacher. And it was during that time where I fell in love with music. It was something that I knew I couldn't escape. It was something that, although I was super active in school, athletic, a scholar, but it was something about music that just kept tapping at me. And during those times, it wasn't necessarily the cool thing. And you know, as a youngster, you strive to just be cool. You want to just hang with the in crowd and be accepted amongst your peers and your friends. Well, singing at the time wasn't one of those things. If you were an athlete or you were just trying to chase the girls or whatever the case may be, but just not singing. And then our choral uniforms at the time, I think our school colors were like brown and gold. And brown was just like never like a dope, cool color, right? And so whenever we'd have to wear our uniforms, you know, they would rag on us about wearing the doodle brown slacks and all of that. But it was my music teacher who said, she said, regardless of them ridiculing you, I see something in you. And I'm going to teach you. I'm going to stay on you. If I see you getting out of line, I'm going to try to right your path, because I know that this music thing can take you way beyond my neighborhood. And had it not been for Miss Terry telling me that, I never would have began a relationship with music. And here I am. I've only had one job in my life.
Wow.
And that's the music.
Wow.
So,
that is,
yeah.
You know, that is so profound. And I am just, it brings chills to my bone, because it further illustrates the awesomeness in God. It takes one.
Yeah.
It takes one to speak prophetically over your life and what it does to you for a lifetime. For there was an elementary music instructor that spoke greatness over you, when at that time you may have not felt you were equipped to tap in that space.
Yeah.
And here you are now, which leads me to your career, your journey. So let's talk about, how did you first get started in music, and what led you to become part of 112?
When I talk about music, you know, I go back to probably as early as I can remember, maybe 3 or 4 years old. My mother would always make sure I was participating, whether it was a church choir. And I always say that the church is the best proving grounds and the best teaching grounds for an aspiring artist or performer. But I just remember performing in church all the time. My mother and I created like a singing language. I'm the youngest of 4. And so to communicate. My mother would sing certain things to me, and I would have to sing it back to her. But then getting into school, she just made sure that she just kept pushing me, school choir, school chorus, and then I ended up meeting my brothers of 112 in middle school. And from middle school, we joined together, and we just set out on this mission to being the best male group out of Atlanta. And again, it was just so many male groups in their garages performing and all of that. And back then, it's like, you know, the pinnacle was to get a record deal. And so when I look at just how I've been favored and how, you know, God has just had, I've always felt like God had a purpose for me. That's so beyond any note that I could sing, any song that I can sing is way beyond that. And we'll get into that. But when I think about that, it just set me on a trajectory like, okay, I'm getting with my brothers. And our objective was to be the best in Atlanta. To get a record deal back then, you think about so many people that were aspiring to get a record deal. Well, it may be one out of whatever grand number, but the fact that we out of Atlanta, when there was just so many talented artists, were blessed with an opportunity to sign a record deal, we didn't take that lightly. And so from middle school, we just performed, we rehearsed, and we built this buzz in Atlanta. And so if you came to Atlanta, you knew about Jagged Edge or 112. Even before we were pitted as contemporaries, we had like this little competition even before either of us got a record deal. And so we just ended up, they signed to Atlanta-based record company, So Def, and we went to New York and signed with Puffy and Bad Boy. When I think about the blessings, it's not ideal that your first single is a top 5 record, but it is featured with a legend as the late Notorious B.I.G., which was the greatest entrance to the game. You know, he's already this known artist, and now he champions and says, hey, these are my little brothers, and so if I rock with them, y'all rock with them. And so to come out of the gate with a top 5 record, man, it just really set us on a trajectory. And, you know, over the course of our career, we were able to achieve so many successes. But it started then.
So think about that as how that ties into unlocking the code of a Waymaker. Idea, the passion, what they felt then, right, to come together as a legendary group, right? But then they were put in the vicinity of someone, right, that was able to help make a way for the group, right? So as he talked about the first single and what it did, for they weren't even anticipating for that to happen. And that's what's so awesome about God, how he will blow our minds. He will do things exceedingly abundantly above what we could ever imagine or think. And here's an illustration then. Who would you say were some of your biggest musical influences growing up, and how did they shape your style?
I would say my musical influences initially would be from the church. Gospel artists, Commission, The Winans, Take 6, John P. Key, Daryl Coley, James Moore, The Mighty Clouds of Joy, The Everreadys. My mom, she didn't play that. We couldn't really listen to secular music back then, and so it was heavy gospel. And it's so dope that as, you know, I got into the industry, some of those artists that so influenced me are now friends of mine. But once we were able to kind of get into the secular and R&B world, obviously any group that kind of paved the way for 112, Isley Brothers, Boyz II Men, Jodeci, Blackstreet, The Whispers, man, I'm a student of all of those because I just always felt like if we're going to do this, we have to know something about the history before we even got there. So now that I have the baton, we can now make a way for the groups that came after us, like Immature and B5 and B2K and Pretty Ricky and all those. We wanted them to see something in us in the same way that we saw in the groups that came before us.
Fellas, both of you all have touched on your Waymakers. But I like to understand, at what point in your career did you realize you had to become a Waymaker?
If it was a moment for me, it was when BET was sold to Viacom. And most of those instances, when a company is sold, several people's lives are changed.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those people.
Mm.
And it was like, wow, manna from heaven, right? That you had never imagined. But I realized I had been prepared by my mother and grandmother my whole life for that moment. Because take Miss Jackson this cake, take Mr. Johnson this bread. And as a kid, you'd be like, don't they have their own cake? Don't they have their own bread? We barely got enough. Shut up, boy, just take it down there. When they would send me care packages in college, it would be a note in there, share this with Mike and share this with Phil. Like, I could eat all of this by myself. Why I got to share it with them? So this whole sharing thing had been a part of my life from being a little boy. So when I got this abundance, because of the sale of the company, it made me go like, is this really all for me? I should be doing something else. I don't think God blessed me like this just for me. This is for me to bless other people. And that's when I started my internship foundation. And that was in 2003. And just show you what I did. I didn't know how to start a foundation. So I went to the people at Viacom at that time. I said, I want to start this foundation. I want to help diversify the industry. There are not enough people who look like me in the industry. And I said, I don't know how to do it. They said, don't worry about it. We'll get our law firm to help you do that. I said, well, how much is it going to cost me? Don't worry about that.
Wow.
There will be no cost. They will do it free of charge because they're a law firm.
Wow.
So as I was trying to be a blessing, I got blessed.
Wow.
Because I didn't know all the filings and you had to do by state and all of that. I didn't know any of that. I just knew I wanted to be a blessing for people who I didn't know and didn't know me. So that was that moment of time.
Wow.
Wow.
What would you
That's
say,
great.
Q?
I would say mine would be similar. I just think we were just raised right. We were raised to share. We were raised to be people lovers. I'm just a lover of people. And because I grew up in most instances without, I just wanted to make sure if I ever got an abundance, I wanted to share. I'm like FUBU all the way down. I'm for us, by us, all the way. It go through my blood. And so whenever I have access, I want to share it. That's what brotherhood is really. That's what community really is. And I think we repay our debt of life through service. You know, I started the Q Parker Legacy Foundation in 2016 to help aspiring artists enter into the recording industry in a better space than I did. You know, when we came into the game, we leaned on the fact that we could sing and was hoping that that would be enough. Well, there's a business side to this industry, just like all other sectors. And because we didn't know, it kind of bit us in our behind initially. But because we accumulated success, we were able to work through the initial contract and just kind of learn our value and negotiate our value. So there's a success even in the story. However, going through that experience and getting that knowledge, for me, I can't just sit and just have it to myself, especially when there is a next generation that I'm responsible for. And my motto is, it does me no good to take information, knowledge with me when my day is called. It does me no good at that point. I want to leave this world empty. Share all of my experiences, share all of my knowledge, the good and the bad. What may not have been accessible to me, I want to make sure this next generation have all the access. And so if they come through our programming, they'll have an entrance level of understanding way better than my generation had. Because if you know anything about the 90s generation of artists, a lot of us signed not so favorable record deals. And it wasn't because I don't think it was anything intentional. It was just the standard of what was given out to artists then, but we just didn't know because no one was pulling us to the side saying, hey, this is how you handle your business. This is how you stand up for your value and all that. We didn't know those things. And so because I now know, I want to make sure little Bernard, who is super dope, talented, has a basic understanding of how to enter into this game. And so that's just who I am, man. I thrive on sharing. And as someone was a Waymaker to me, I hope that one day someone is going to mention Q Parker's name and the Q Parker Legacy Foundation for being a Waymaker to them as well.
That is powerful. And what stands out for me biblically is to whom much is given, much is required. God has granted us and given us the blessing of abundance, the blessing of abundance, overflow. He has enlarged our territory. All these things that we may have prayed for and are then the blessing. And it is on us to pay it forward. It is on us to help make a way for our communities so that we can normalize being Waymakers, so that our kids and the kids and generations to follow don't have to experience what you experience, what we've experienced, what our grandparents experienced. They deserve to have a greater life. And if God has blessed you, it is your duty to be of a blessing to others. He gave you a great name. He gave you a great name. He said nations would know the legendary Grammy Award-winning group 112. Nations would know the name. Nations would know President Louis Carr. They would know the name, but they understood the assignment and what they owed to others. So mentorship, the mentor's mirror. Brother Louis, what would you say the most important lesson you learned from your mentors? There you go. So simple. It's so simple.
Just when you come from underserved communities, you only think about trying to get outside of that community. That's your dream, to get outside. But you can get outside and still, the world is so much bigger than that. I remember when we were working with a local high school in Chicago, and the kids came to my office in the Prudential building. And at that time, we were on the 43rd floor. And they came into my office and they wouldn't go to the window. And I'm like, go to the window. And they said, no, no, this is too high. This is too high. We don't want to look out that window. This is too high. We're afraid to look out that window. And we had to really push these kids to go to the window. And the point I wanted them to see, from my window, you could see all the way down the lakefront to Indiana.
Wow.
All right?
Wow.
That's the type of view. And on the other side of the office, you could see all the way down the lakefront to Hollywood Drive. All right? So you could see the whole lakefront from our office. And the point I wanted them to see how big this is. See how beautiful this is. You should want to have this. You should want to seek to have this, not just for the abundance of it, but for the influence, the power of it, the things that you can do for others of it. So even today, someone told me last week, you ain't thinking big enough.
Wow.
So the lesson I've learned is think big.
Think big. Think big. That is so profound, because small-minded thinkers do not put a path for waymaking.
Can I tell you this one story? When I was in college, I went to this booster's house, those who support the university. I had never seen a house this big in my life. I'd never seen this many luxury cars. And I looked at him, I said, man, how did you get all of this? And he said, let me ask you a question first. Tell me the things you love to do and tell me the things you hate to do. I hate to go to class. I hate to practice. I hate to study. I love partying. I love having a good time. You know, I love hanging out with my boys. He said, fine, now I'll answer your question. He said, master the things you hate to do, and it'll give you more opportunity to do the things you love to do.
Man, listen.
At 20 years old,
Man.
well, it hit me. He
Listen.
said, just master the things you hate to do. It's going to give you more opportunities to do the things you love to do, and you can have all of this.
I tell my kids, in order for you to be a part of the 1%, you got to do what the 99% won't, and it's on you. It is on you. So, Brother Q, I turn that same question on to you. Have you mastered something as it relates to mentorship?
I have mastered communication. One of the things that a mentor shared with me that I've never forgotten, changed my life, was he said, it costs nothing to be kind. And in an industry where you are reliant on consumers, ticket buyers, record buyers, and supporters, he said, the way that you treat people when you hot is the way they treat you when you're not.
Wow. Well, that's a.
And I just,
man, listen, I don't know if they heard that.
we'll take a drink to
I
that.
don't
We'll
know
have
if
a
they
drink
heard
to
that
that.
one.
The way you treat people when you're hot is the way they'll treat you when you're not. I just never forgot that, man. You know, it costs nothing to be kind. It costs nothing to be kind, you know, and just understanding the power of relationships and how to establish, maintain, but also sustain those relationships. There's a difference between the maintenance and the sustenance, right? And being able to master that, especially in a world where it's super reliant on relationships and being communicative. You know, some buildings or places money can't get you in because the relationship is not valuable. And so those have been things that I've never forgotten, and I've learned to master the understanding of valuing and leveraging relationships.
And you notice that, you know, I travel over 250 nights a year, and you're dealing with people in airports, you're dealing with people in cars, you're dealing with people in hotels. And when they're awfully nice to you, you just kind of go, that person was awfully nice.
Yes.
Right.
Sometimes it's so confusing to you, and you're like, do I know them?
Right.
Sometimes I've got to my room and like, she act like she knew me. Did I know her? And I went back down and said, do I know you? No, you don't. But you were just so nice.
So nice, yeah.
Because it's so uncommon in today's world that most people are just not that nice.
And here's what resonates with those comments. God is a God of love and no chaos. God is a God of love and no chaos. So why can't we love? Why can't we be kind? It's the simple things to humanity that we fail to comply with. Why is it so difficult to be nice, genuine, when God loves you, when God gave up his sole forgotten son, Jesus? Why? The simple things, being kind. Because if it's chaotic, my brother, it is not pleasing to God. As we continue to talk about Waymaker, the Waymaker code, and us being now Waymakers, and the responsibility that we now carry, the path forward. How do we protect and advance Black media during this political climate?
You know, because I've been doing this so long.
You just getting started, brother. You just getting started, man. Look.
I didn't come to understand this term DE&I until probably 5 years ago.
Wow.
All right. What is that? All right. Because we just operated on being the best that we can be, period.
Yeah.
You ain't got to put no term on it. You ain't got to call it nothing. You know, like my brother had 112, you know. They wasn't trying to be the best Black group.
Right.
They were just trying to be the best group,
Absolutely.
period.
Yeah.
All right? The same thing with you guys. You're not trying to be the best black hair. You're trying to
Right.
be the best product, period.
Right.
Same with BET. We're just trying to be the best media company, period.
Mhm.
All right? When you look at the credentials of people who work at BET, you got Ivy League grads from Wharton to Harvard to Morehouse, you know, so we come from all different walks of life. That's what's so great about it. The multiple experience brings excellence because you get advice, you get creativity from all walks of life.
Mhm.
And people have been really concerned, and I'm just like, just gonna be the best.
Best.
We just gonna be the best. So I have not been worried about it. I haven't lost any sleep over it. I see all the foolishness on the news like everybody else, but I'm just like, I'm just gonna be the best. Matter of fact, we're gonna dig deeper. We're gonna work harder, all right, to be the best.
What that ties into, ye who has little faith, living under the spirit of fear. The Bible says God has given us the spirit of no fear and the power of a sound, clear mind. Brother Lewis just said, I just focus on being the best because greater that he is within me, than he is with the entire world. I just focus on being the best. Brother Q, talk to me. How do you feel about that?
I echo what my brother, Mr. Carr, just said. You know, when you think about our history and just the lineage of what has come before us, I look at the word resilient. We're just a resilient people, man. You know, regardless of what's thrown at us, we've always had to work on focusing on being the best and overachieving. You know, even though the goalpost continues to move, we continue to be resilient. And you know, just being in. I grew up in sports. I use a lot of sports analogies all the time. Resiliency will show when you're down by 50. If you look at the history of sports, there's been a team that has been down by 50 points and actually won the game. There's been a team that was down by 3 touchdowns with 2 minutes to go, and they actually still won the game. And so when we hearing all of this stuff that's going on, I really just echo what Mr. Carr said. Like, the system don't change for us. Continue doing what we've always done because that too is deep rooted within our genes, man. It's down our lineage. Like we have fight, we have grit. We in fight mode, never flight mode.
We've been fighting our whole lives.
We dominate, man. When we show up, we dominate because typically we are the best at anything we put our minds to, man. And so I'm like you, I don't worry. And I'll just echo what you said. Continue to just focus on being your best. Man, I love that.
My brothers, God has gotten you through some things. He has consistently gotten you through some things. Has he ever failed you? He hasn't failed us yet. As a matter of fact, he has never put any of us through anything that we could not bear. So why not continue to give it your best shot? Why not focus on the commentary with man and just focus on his word? Because what? We know that his word is to be true. We know these things. Why don't we trust? So, Waymaker, let me ask you guys this. What opportunities do you see emerging from, and I love it, opportunities, because where there's trials, tribulations, adversities, but I like to say those are simply opportunities.
Absolutely.
So what do you see coming out of this?
What I see is that our communities have had a wake-up call.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that we're going to have to go back to something Q said. We always, growing up, knew you had to run faster, you had to jump higher, you had to just do more to get in the game. I think we're going back to that. And that's okay. That's okay because that's what's going to give you the endurance. That's what's going to give you the stamina. That's going to give you the, as Harold Washington used to say, this is not a word, but I like it, stick-to-itism. All right? That's stick-to-itism. So I just think, we're going through a period of time that we're going to have to reset our intentionality, reset our work ethic, reset our commitment to one another. I think for Black media, it's just a real opportunity because we're going to have to tell our own stories.
There you go. There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Because, and I go by this saying, the story must be told. Our stories, our unique stories, our pain, our journey, all the things that we've endured, our stories.
Yeah.
But he has gotten us through. He has favored us, our stories. But most importantly is his story, the greatest story to ever be told. The storms that we may endure, but somehow, some way, he makes a way out of no way. Somehow, some way, we get through the storms. We weather the storms. We weather the storms. So while we're focusing on what man is creating and call it fake media to manipulate the mind, to distract the mind, why don't we focus on his promises? Because his promises are true. Brother Q, balance. Talk to me about you balancing your professional life with personal commitments.
Wow. That was something that I had to learn. I had to mature into that because in my younger years, it was just career. And so wife got the leftovers, family got the leftovers. And it was so crazy there was a span where my family just knew if anything I had to do career-wise, I just was not going to be present. So I missed weddings, funerals, graduations, whatever was going on family-wise, I just missed it because so career-driven. But as I got older and matured and started to really understand the word balance, you can't have one without the other. Too much of anything can not be such a great thing. And especially now being married for 22 years, children, grandchildren, it's really about balance. It's about peace and balance and just having a great relationship with the word balance and making sure that I'm leading that balance in a way so that now my son, who's a junior at FAMU, can see dad operating in peace and love and thoughtfulness and family and community. I have a men's organization in Atlanta, Brothers United of Atlanta, and we always say we are always on and someone is always watching. And because we are now persons of influence and persons of access, we never know who's watching. At any given moment, somebody sees what you say, what you do, how you're moving, and especially if we have children, and I'll even go even deeper, we have young boys or just sons. They need to see dad operating in presence, in time, in love, and in balance, and of just serenity and being peaceful. They need to see all of these things. And so I love the fact that I've matured into having a great relationship with the word balance, because that was something that I didn't understand fully in my younger years.
That is profound, brother, because I tell you, where there is no balance, distraction, chaos, doubts, fear begins to intercede. And I think it's, I call it, it's almost like learning on the job, right? Because you're in it. And in our past, we were trying to find ways and make ways to improve the situation, right? Because we were surviving. So that caused us to do what? Make certain sacrifices, right? Because of the survival mode, because mom and dad trying to make ends meet. We're trying to figure out what we're going to eat on Friday. We're surviving. So I sacrifice one of the most important things in life, and that is being present. That is being present. And when I think about that, and you're absolutely right, and it's like me being present in the physical, because God has always been present with me. And I owe it to myself, I owe it to my family to be present. Talk to me, brother, about that.
Well, you know, I've been married a long time. A whole long time. And what I've learned, and I didn't understand it when I initially got married, that term called equally yoked.
Ooh.
What does that mean?
Ooh.
I didn't know what
We
that,
struggle with that.
I don't.
We struggle with
I
that
didn't know
yoke.
what that-
Man.
I didn't know what that meant. But on this journey, I realized that you have to be on the same page in all aspects of your life. That's where that balance is. All right. So I've been traveling. Ooh, this is gonna sound terrible. For over 250 nights for over 30
Oh my
years.
God. Oh, Lord
All right?
Jesus. Wow.
But we were equally yoked on what the goals were. There was no confusion on what I was trying to do and why I had to work like it.
Yeah.
I mean, we had discussions. I got to go here. I got to go there. You want to go? No, I don't want to do that. All right. You go do that. I understand why you got to do that. So there was alignment on the journey. And people would ask her all the time, where's your husband? He ain't never home. And she's like, he's fine. He's doing what he got to do because we're equally yoked. We were balanced on that.
Yeah.
There were certain things she said, there's no negotiation on these days. All right. You got to be here. Fine. There's certain things, you got to do this. Fine. So we had this alignment, this balance of expectations of one another. All right. She'll go out. I'll be right there in the house. She said, everybody ask about you. I said, and what did you tell them? That you was on the floor asleep? And they said, oh, is he tired? Yeah, he's tired. So she was balanced. She's okay with that. All right. So we were balanced on the journey. This is what it's going to take to get these goals and objectives.
So you're saying that basically she understood the assignment. And that's what marriage is. The assignment that we both have during this union as one. The assignment we both have to create a life that we only dreamed of. The assignment that we both have so that our kids and our grandkids don't have to live and see the things we saw. The assignment, my brothers, I want to encourage you to embrace the blessing of the assignment that God has put on your life. There's an assignment, there's a purpose, but you continue to allow the naysayers, you continue to allow what you see to begin to discourage you on what you shall be in this life. My brothers, there's an assignment, there's a calling on your life. There's a calling on your life that you continue to not obey. Because I'm gonna tell you this, and I tell people this all the time. There's a gift, there's talents, that we all possess. Brother Q, talented in what he does and sing all these things. Brother Louis, talented in what he does. But I'll tell you this, your gift and talents will get you there. But my brother, make no mistake, your obedience is what will keep you there. And part of the governance of being obeying his principles is you tapping into being a waymaker. Let me switch gears and ask you this, Brother Q. How do we ensure the waymaker spirit continues through generations?
We ensure that it continues through generations through the word that we've heard throughout this segment is just being present. Especially if you are a person who has the access, you have the knowledge, you have the experiences. As I said earlier, it is your requirement and your responsibility to pass on the information. It does us no good to take this stuff with us. And so whether that is 100, 1,000, however many people that you interact with it is your responsibility to just give of your knowledge, give of your time, and just be present. One of the things that I love doing, we're gearing up for my youth summer camp. I can ensure that all the information that I've gained over these almost 30 years of being in this industry is being passed along, because every day in my camp, I just don't put my name on it. I'm there every day. I'm in the trenches with these children every day. We're going over everything, whether it's songwriting, whether it's music industry terminology, licensing, publishing, royalties, all of those things. And so that when they leave our time, they'll have a basic understanding, but not just a basic understanding of knowing how to navigate this industry, but they know that this is a long-lasting relationship. If you ever need Mr. Q, here's my contact. Here's a direct access to me. So along this journey, whenever you have a high or low, you can always call Mr. Q or someone on the staff to ensure continually that you have access to us. And so I just think just being present and being willing to give of your time, your information, and your knowledge.
That's deep. That is profound.
I would use the words intentionality. That you have to be intentional about the impact you want to have on people. On Monday, I was in a meeting with Steve Schwartzman, the founder of the behemoth Blackstone PE firm. All right. And we had a breakfast with 8 Olympic athletes. And he had a lot of his staff at the breakfast. And he said, I asked my staff to come here for 2 reasons. He said, number one, I wanted them to see what greatness looks like.
Wow.
All right. He said, number 2, because I give to this foundation, I wanted them to understand that all that money I'm paying them ain't just for them. Greatness happens when intentionality comes from people who have it. He's one of the richest people in the world, all right? Not in the country, in the world. And he said, it gives me great joy to be able to impact people's lives. And I wanted my employees to understand that. His intentionality, he wanted to make sure it impacted somebody, if not all of those people who work for him.
You know, I am full. I am grateful because these words, this confirmation is what I've been praying for. When you truly are able to witness the power of God through his people, for the Bible says that are called by his name, his people. When you're able to witness that, it is a rewarding feeling. And I am full because that is exactly what God had put on me for us to share our stories, but more importantly, to impact us, to be intentional for us, to truly embrace humility, to truly honor and support one another as brothers. My brother, you my keeper. My brother, I love you. My brother, I support you. My brother, I am here for you to help you become a waymaker so that they can become a waymaker, so that begins to be embedded and normalized in our culture, in our communities. We are more than what they have designed and created for us. Because if God be for you, my brother, what on this earth can be against you? What can be against you? You were created to be a way maker. And you know, I like to end these episodes and really touch on the code, the governance that you live by daily. What are the key principles that make up your personal code?
The key principles for me is to be impactful, to be intentional, and to be an influence on people to be able to show up as their best self
Wow.
in every aspect of their life.
Wow. That is extraordinary. Showing up.
Hmm.
I was always told, young male, don't you sign up for this if you're not going to show up for this. Don't you sign up for this, because if I bring you to the room, if I put you in the room, are you going to go hide in the closet? Are you going to hide in the corner? Because if I put you in this room, I need you to work this room, because I need them to see the greatness in you. So don't you sign up for this if you're not going to show up for this. Brother Q, talk to me.
I would say being healthy so that I can be impactful and will have the energy to be present and active and a mentor. And so being healthy, being responsible, being present.
I am truly honored and grateful, and for you all to accompany me here and helping me as my brothers to help our brothers
Yeah.
embrace the blessing of unlocking the code of being a waymaker. Being a waymaker. God continues to always find a way to make ways for us. Somehow, some way, we continue to get through it. We go through it, but somehow, some way, we are still here today. Today, I woke up today, but I did not honor and say, this is the day that the Lord has made. Somehow, some way, I did not honor today and acknowledge that this was the day the Lord has made, and I'm supposed to be glad and rejoicing in this day. Somehow, some way, I lost my way along the way. Somehow, some way. But my brother, I'm here to encourage you, because God put something over me to encourage you, to bring you back. I'm reaching you because right now, my brother, you lost. And I'm reaching a loss. And together we're going to build the kingdom, and we're going to become waymakers that God has put us on this earth to be. Because my future self will no longer be my past self. My future self will be greater than I was today. My children are relying on me. Generations to come are relying on me. And it's important for us as brothers to stand firm, to be resilient, because it is on us. And our kids deserve to have the life that we never had. It is on us. So my brothers, I encourage you to join us in unlocking the code of becoming a waymaker. I have to ask this. We've been honing in on unlocking the code of becoming a waymaker. But what about our household, our wives or significant others, our children?
Mm-hmm.
How do we become waymakers for them?
Understanding that our role is of service.
Man, listen, bro. Come on now.
And we serve our families in a way that is going to help them and help them grow. And sometimes that's giving, and sometimes that's taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? As we know, we didn't get everything we wanted when we grew up. Sometimes they say you got to figure that out on your own. That was the best thing, to figure it out on your own. So understanding as the leader of your families when to give and when not to give. You know, sometimes it's like when to stand down and when to stand up. That becomes sort of a journey of mastering that. As I heard even Minister Farrakhan say in one of his speeches, he said, I'm not the father that I was for my first child.
Yeah.
I was a different father for my second child because I had learned something. I was a different father for my third child because I was a whole lot more smarter than when I had my first one. So understanding that journey must take place and that you'll become better with it as you go on.
Mm.
Same thing with a husband. People look at me now like, oh, he's such a great guy. I don't think she would have said that in year 2 or 3.
Right.
Wow, that's extraordinary. And Q, how would you how does that relate to you?
I would say I love what you said, Mr. Carr, about service, but I would also just say understanding the true definition of leadership and understanding that all eyes are always on you. All eyes are on you when the times are good. All eyes are still on you when times are bad. And to understand that I'm still a leader, even when if my wife and I are arguing, I'm still in the leadership position because how I respond now gives her access to now be able to use that as an option to respond back. Mm-hmm. So even in the dire of certain circumstances and situations, still understand that I'm in the leadership chair and my children are watching. I see how dad responding. So now my son is now getting a lesson on how to respond and react. But my daughter is also getting a lesson on how to be gentle and understanding and thoughtful, or even being direct with love. I always say that whatever words you say, if you care about that person, focus on the delicacy of your delivery. Nothing that I transmit to you should be harmful, but some conversations have to be tough. But just I'm a worded and prepared in a way that it lands delicately on your ears.
Wow, that is extraordinary. And just to add to that, one of the practices that my wife and I have embraced, since being parents, is the power in prayer. We pray with our children, and as a family, united, since as long as I can remember. And even to this day, our oldest daughter, Mia, she's in college at Hampton University. We FaceTime and pray every single day, right? It's just a ritual that we have embraced. And I truly believe that God truly does answer prayers, and that me being the man and the head of the household, me being the head and not the tail, me being the leader of the household, it's been important for me to continue on that ritual in the household, and that it allows me to plant a seed of the waymaking that I have had a vision of since they were babies, right? The vision that I've had for my children and for me of being consistent and being disciplined in my day-to-day decisions I make today, and how it impacts my children, because I'm trying to make a way for my children. And so it was understood for me to embrace the blessing of stewardship and all that I did with my finances and so on and so forth. So my children, but the point I'm trying to make is the blessing and the power of a praying family that allows me to help them understand the importance of being a waymaker. But fellas, this was extraordinary. I am, as I mentioned, I am truly honored to have you guys here and joining me in this very, very important discussion for Black men. And I've learned that so many of us, there's a weight that we carry that, quite frankly, I feel we don't have to carry, that we don't tap into the ecosystem of the brethren. And I just feel a call to rebuke the devours of the enemy, to release, to allow you to reveal some things, because I know that I can't heal what I don't reveal. I know that I can't get in position for my increase if I don't release some things. So point I'm trying to make is the blessing, my brother, of learning to let go and let God have his way, so that you can make a way, so that you can unlock the code of being a waymaker. Thank you, my brothers, again for joining me on this episode. And I'll see you all again on the next episode
Of the blessed code.
The blessed code. That's it. That's it. That's it. Thank you for joining this episode of The Bless Code. Living by His Code is a journey full of grace, growth, and opportunities to bless others. If today's episode spoke to you, please share this powerful message and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social to stay grounded, grateful, and blessed. Until next time, keep your faith strong, your heart open, and live life you're destined for. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you just unlocked another Bless Code.